Welcome to the HSCG Master Maker podcast. I'm here with Anne-Marie Faiola of Bramble Berry.
Hi.
Welcome. We're so glad to have you on here. So I'm going to get right into it and I'm going to ask the most pressing question. You've built an incredible presence as the soap queen. Can you share the origin of that brand and how it evolved into the powerhouse that it is today?
Oh, first of all, that's kind of you to say, to even call it a powerhouse. I feel so lucky to have entered this industry when it was just kind of in its infancy. When I started making soap, there was only one soap making book. It was Anne Branson's Making Soap and Loving It. And that was primarily me using soap with Crisco. Like literally, like it was like take one can of Crisco and one thing of whatever Red Devil Lye and mix it together. That was kind of the extent of the industry. And so when I joined, I got really lucky that we were all coming up in the concept of turning soap making from this utilitarian, like everybody needs soap to wash themselves and wash their clothes, to it's a true art form. It's a true example of how creativity can come to life. And now we're making these awesome, useful, consumable art forms. And we were all learning that together back in like AOL chat rooms and Yahoo groups and like back in the day. And so I got really lucky to be at the forefront of communities building around the concept of wait, we can make soap. Wait, we can make a better for you product. And so I went to my background's in psychology, emphasis in criminal justice. And so I did not have any real business experience. And so back in the day, I went to MIT for their entrepreneurial master's program, which was 3 summers long to teach me how to run a business. And one of the things that Vern Harnish, who wrote The Rockefeller Habits, said, he was one of the instructors at MIT. And one of the things he said was, you need to own a title. You need to own a name, whether it's the best dry cleaner on the corner of Madison and 34th in New York City, you just need to own a name. And so I went, well, what am I good at? What do I love to do? What do I love to talk about? I am obsessed with soap. I'm the soap queen. I can do this. And so from there, that is how the Soap Queen blog was started. That's how the Brambleberry YouTube channel was started. It just became all about like, how do I teach people how to make soap? How do I teach people how to be creative? How do I own the concept of actually soap making is awesome. It's easy. It's fun. Let me be the one to show you how. And by having that name and that brand, it almost makes me be better than I would be because it's such an honor to be like, oh my gosh, I get to do this every day. I get to live this.
That's excellent. And it's so interesting to hear, like, from your point of view, too, where that came from. So I hope everybody out there who's been following you all along is going to be like, that's so cool. I'm so glad to hear that story of where Soap Queen originated. And
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I started in this industry basically the same sort of time, around 2000, and I just read books. I went to the library. That's what I did. I read books. There really was no Facebook groups and, chat rooms and things like that. So I know exactly what you mean. And isn't it interesting how much we've evolved in the
Oh yeah. Now we have color just in the soap making books. Like Susan Miller Cabbage was the next book that came out. And that was all line drawings, right? Like that, there was no photography even.
That's the
Like
one I read, the one I read. And my soap in the beginning too, when I was making my soap, it was very much that sort of no color, all natural kind of looking soap that a lot of people were making back then, probably because of those books. But that's
right. Well, and also the materials just were not that readily available. Back then, sourcing Alibaba did not exist and Google did not exist. I mean, if you can imagine a world where Google doesn't exist, right?
imagine.
Like
Yeah, I can't remember it.
yeah, you could not find materials. Like you couldn't that's how Brambleberry was started was I couldn't find materials, and in order to find the materials, I had to buy in such giant amounts because these are like chemical supply warehouses.
Right.
That I was like, well, what am I going to do with all of this? All right, well, there's other people that need this stuff, and so it was definitely the kind of wild, wild west of trying to just source anything that was useful.
I agree, and I remember in the books too, that was sort of a whole chapter in Susan Miller Cabbage's book about how to source different materials to make soap. So what was the moment when you realized that your content and your business had really kind of taken off?
First of all, I think that for any business, you always feel like you're just in the middle of a maelstrom. You are just everything is falling apart, nothing is going right. There is always someone that's unhappy with you. There's always someone that doesn't want to work to the standards that you have asked them to in exchange for a paycheck. There is always a vendor that's delayed. There is always a raw material that's out of spec. There is always something that is wrong. And so I tend to focus on kind of what needs to get done today. Here's my list. Let's do the things. And so I'm not ever focusing really on what's right. Like it's not like this is so great. And so the first time I realized that I have a business and actually we are doing really well is when I won Business Person of the Year for Washington State by the SBA. So one of the top 50 people in the nation as a business owner was invited to fly to get my award from Barack Obama with a 3-week-old baby. And in order to get the award, there had been 3 in-person interviews, they had reviewed 3 years of financials, there was letters of recommendation, and they had done a site visit with a group of 3 judges and interviewed my staff. Like, they had interviewed the team that works with me, that I'm so privileged that they choose to work with me. And that was when I went, "Oh, wait, I was up against a lot of other people, and they did all this work for all these other people," which means that their books weren't as clean. That means their staff wasn't as happy. That means they hadn't built the culture. That means they weren't providing the service. Whatever it was, all of the things came together for me to get this insane award, like just insane over the top award. And when I got it, I went, "Oh, maybe we're okay. Maybe I mean, I'm never going to believe my own press, right? Like don't want to like not let the demons like run away from the demons every day and not have that push me. But on the other hand, that was a moment where I went, "Oh, other people think we're okay that have, like, objectively decided that. They're not my parents,
Right.
and they genuinely think we're okay." So that was, like, the moment. And then, honestly, anytime I get to look at the total amount that payroll is every 2 weeks, I have both the elation of feeling like, "Oh my goodness, all these people are depending on me and the marketing team and, like, to give them their jobs so that they can pay their mortgages and their car bills and their diapers." I have this feeling of honor and pride, but also I do wanna crawl up under the desk and just rock myself back and forth for like 5 minutes and go, "Oh my god, all these people are depending on me." So every 2 weeks, I also get the reminder that I am running a real business.
That is amazing too, and thinking about the impact and the positive impact you've had on these people's lives that you give jobs to, because you live in a somewhat rural area, correct?
We do. Yeah, we live in a rural area in Bellingham, Washington. We have food deserts out in the county, and we feel really lucky that we get to be an employer of choice, and we offer medical, and we try really hard to just be a phenomenal job. It is 65-75% of our job is warehouse job, right? You are hand filling the bottles that we ship to people. We don't actually have any filling machines because since we have 1,800 items, you would take longer switching out the tubing for a filling machine than you would to actually fill the product. So we still hand fill everything. And so when it is someone in an entry level warehouse position, it is such an honor when they choose to stay with me because they could actually switch to another warehouse. They could switch to another type of the same type of job. So it is such a point of pride when they go, "Oh yeah, what we do matters."
Right.
People that we ship these products to, they have small businesses. They are changing their own lives, they're changing their own communities, they're changing their own families. So when they can connect with the why of what they are putting in the box and why they're putting it in the box, that's when they're hooked and that's when they stay. It's so exciting.
And that's such a beautiful thing that you are a small business that supports small businesses.
Mhm.
You live and breathe small business. And
Totally.
you and I both know from working on our advocacy together how important it is to preserve small business for local communities or the country as a whole, how important they are to everything. So you must lay down at night and feel really good. I always wanted a career like that where I laid down at night and I felt good about myself. And helping small businesses is an excellent thing to do.
Yes, I try really hard. I'm one of those, like, try and notice the things in your life that are good and try and feel gratitude every single day and let the good crowd out the bad. So when I go to sleep at night, I do try to keep really positive, happy interactions in my head and feelings of gratefulness. And you're absolutely right. You and I were side by side in the trenches for 10 years working on small business advocacy for what became MOCRA, the Modernization of Cosmetic Act. And it was you, me, and one other vendor. Everybody else begged off. Either they were run by private equity or they just were like Leigh and Anne-Marie have it. And so you and we were the ones fighting for small business along with one of the other vendors in the industry. That was
Yep. Even when I retire and I'm long out of the industry, that will be one of the things that I remember most.
right. Well, and I do have to give in the early years, especially, we also had Indie Business Network, right? It was me, you, Indie Business Network. I mean, it was Kayla,
Yep.
Leela, like back in the day. It was Long history of supporting small business from all the angles.
Absolutely. And it's hard to stay in that fight. As you and I both know, it moves at a snail's pace.
It
So
does, and it's expensive. I mean, there was some years it was like $280,000 in paid advocacy plus the going back and forth. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is so much money. And I don't know where that money is gonna come from. And oh my gosh, please people keep buying soap so I can keep defending you back in Washington, DC.
that's right. Absolutely. Well, the good news is that it did end in MOCRA and signed in 2022. So we're very proud of that. You've seen many soap makers and indie beauty brands come and go. What are the top qualities or habits that you've noticed in the ones that really succeed?
Oh my goodness, I am so lucky that I get to see so many successful businesses. Everything from one of our customers that's a larger customer, her entire business is just on TikTok. She only has a TikTok shop.
Wow.
You know, we have other ones that like have retail stores, but they manufacture still everything out of their commercial grade like pole building, but they have like 3 or 4 retail stores. And then we have people that are only farmers markets. So it'll do like 8 farmers markets in a weekend and they will have like 8 college kids working the farmers markets. And so we get the gamut of all kinds of businesses. And I will say the thing I've noticed that helps them succeed is one, a really consistent product line. You will see them coming out with seasonal products. Like think of Starbucks, right? They come out with 3 seasonal products, but the rest of their line stays consistent. So these businesses make their consistent 5, 10, 15 products. They make them in the consistent 5, 10, or 15 fragrances or essential oil blends. And then they do periodic, like 4 times a year collections. 2, these businesses are really consistent in their messaging and their branding. So, how they talk to their customers, how often they talk to their customers, how their social media looks. So, they have figured out who they are as a brand and recognize that customers want consistency. They want to feel safe about using their products. And that goes down from everything from what does your packaging look like? Do you ship on time? And when you are talking to your customers in every medium, so your email, your social media, the little things you put in the package, does it all sound consistent? So they're very consistent in their branding. And then third, they deeply, deeply care. We don't have any customers that I know of personally that are successful that keep ordering year after year after year and growing their business that are not in it because they have a why. They have some sort of personal story. You know, their kid had eczema, their husband got laid off, whatever the personal story is that they connected with. I can make a superior product. I can help people change their day by having a great bar of soap, or I can help people change their skin by having really good for you products. So they have a strong why that keeps them going because, as we have alluded to, like business is rarely up. It's actually pretty hard and stressful a lot. And so knowing the why helps those businesses keep going.
I totally agree with you completely. And I think that the third point that you made is so pertinent to today, and that is the storytelling aspect. You find that customers want to connect with the maker, not just the products. So they want to kind of know who you are and they want to know what you stand for. And especially when you're scrolling now on social media, I find that the things that catch people's eye now are the things that are uplifting, the things that are joyous, the things that are humorous, rather than the rest of what's out there. You know what I
Oh, everybody's looking for the cute puppy video right now.
Right, right, because they wanna feel good, they wanna feel better, and that's gonna catch their eye more than the rest of the doom scrolling is,
Mhm.
same old, so, I think that storytelling part is so important. So from your perspective, what separates a hobbyist from someone who truly builds a sustainable business?
Well, that's a great question because I always am like, oh, keep it a hobby until you have enough to take the leap to do your full-time job. Like the TikTok store that I was talking about, she worked for the federal government for years and years and years and built up her TikTok store. And then she was able to replace it. And there was, there's a small bridge, but it was manageable. And so I am always advocating for, I know the side hustle is currently out of vogue, but I am always hustling for that. Like you do the side hustle. You have this that you sell at craft shows on the weekends, you sell on your Etsy store, you get a wholesale account on Faire, you pound the pavement, you walk into all the retail stores and you do that while you are, yes, working a part-time job or a full-time job because nothing worth having is easy and nothing worth having usually is overnight, right? It is always a long time thing. And so what a hobbyist versus like a small business is really just a matter of focus and attention. Where is your focus and attention going? Is it building the business? Do you get the opportunity to spend 80 to 100% of your working hour focus on that? If so, yeah, you are building a business. And let's look at your key performance indicators. Let's look at your KPIs. Do you have more people checking out every month? Do you have more people coming to your social media? What does your bottom line look like? Like, we want to be seeing improvements in that kind of thing. But a hobbyist is someone that I look at that is looking for a creative outlet. It's a one or two Z thing where they're like, I would like to make soap for my teacher's gifts. I would like to make candles for the holidays to give out as gifts. And I really need that outlet for creativity. And if I make money, well, I don't need to make money. That's fine. I just really want to make cool gifts and I really want to be creative. And we serve everybody. We'll serve the hobbyist, the starter outer, and we'll serve the business owner. But really, I think it is the difference is the matter of like focus and also where is your income coming from? If your income is coming from the hobby, it's now an actual business.
Right, right. And what would you say to somebody who is at the point where they want to make that decision to go from a hobbyist to a business when everything you just said is all fantastic advice? But I know somebody first starting out might go, wow, that's a lot. I got to think about branding. I got to think about marketing,
Mhm.
social media. How am I going to have time for all this? When am I going to do the dishes? When am I going to take my kids to school? So, what would you say to take a one, two, three breath and focus on this first? What would be your answer?
You always focus on the product, right? You got to make great product. I don't care how cute the brand is. If it's not great product, then you're not going to get the repeat business. I always focus on those base formulations. And back to the consistency, I focus on the base formulations and then not making a lot of changes. So like some of my very favorite soap makers that I follow a lot, like Muddy Mint, for example, her base formula is very consistent every time. She is not reinventing the wheel every time she's making a 30-pound batch of soap. She's making a pretty consistent product and changing up the colors and the fragrances. So it's always focus on the product first. And then you get to do the fun stuff, the sales and marketing. What's interesting is I notice when entrepreneurs get stuck in decision paralysis or analysis paralysis, it's because they're having such a good time picking out their colors, picking out their branding, focusing on that instead of making the sales, instead of making the product. It's really easy to get caught up in the branding and the fun stuff and less easy to get caught up in what really matters, which is how much cash do you have coming in and are people repeating their orders?
That's a good way to go into my next question, actually. So, my next question is as a maker community, we are all very artistic and we love the part where we get to make things and create. Maybe not so much love the business side. Some people love both, but a lot of makers shy away from the business side of it. They have to learn that, or there's a learning curve to it. So, is passion enough? Where do you have to break out of that creative mindset in order to start thinking like a business person, like an entrepreneur?
Well, you have to have systems that you can mechanize and routinize because you need to have people that can make the stuff if you don't want to. If all you want to do is create new items for people, then one, you have to have a steady stream of income coming in. And two, someone's got to make that stuff for you. And so actually, you do have to do the hard things. You got to buckle down. Like, again, I said earlier, like nothing worth having in life is easy and it doesn't come fast. It's the same with building a business. Like you may not want to make oatmeal milk and honey 15 times in the next month. And that if that's what's selling, that is actually what you have to make because that gives you the freedom to then do the creativity for 5 or 10% of your time, right? No one gets to take a vacation every day. That's what makes the couple weeks you get off a year really special, right? Like that's why they're special. It's the same thing with building a business and getting that passion part of it out. You get the privilege of having the passion play that I'm just going to make soap for fun. Thank God after you do the hard work. You don't get your dessert all day long. You do have to eat those vegetables and the protein and the fiber and all the stuff. So, yes, you can be passionate and you should be passionate, and your why should be around whatever your passion is. Again, for me, it's creativity and helping small businesses and helping small business owners. And I still, 95% of my job, if not 97%, is running Brambleberry. Yesterday, I got to make candles, but that was because we discontinued a candle container and we still needed to have that project up on the website. So I was the one that was available to make the candles so we could photograph them today, so we could put the project on the website so people knew how to like, was that fun and creative? Not really, because it was production, right? Like I had to do it. I wasn't doing it for fun. But that does mean that this last weekend, I got to go home and recreate Clara's Ghost Swirl, which is this interesting concept around water discounting and how the texture and the color looks different just by water discounting. Now that was fun, but I only got to do that because I'd done all the work during the week in order to be able to play on the weekend.
Right. And I do tell people when I give them advice lately, I do tell them to let your customers see that passion that you have. Let that creativity and artistic side out in your marketing and your brochures and your website and your social media. You know,
4 times a year drops, like, drop new collections 4 times a year, that's great. Be
absolutely.
creative there. Keep going.
Yep. So just let people see who you are and let's see because they want to connect with that. They want to connect with the fact that you're passionate about what you're making and putting out there for them to buy. They want to see that passion. So,
Absolutely.
it's a way around, so you don't always have to hide it. Is what I'm saying.
Well, there are and I one caveat I just wanna there are certainly successful soap makers, like, I'm thinking Nathan from Clover Soap Works, for example, that they do drops every 6 weeks, and they are never the same.
Mm.
Literally, they're never the same. Now, he has built up a following over years doing that, right? Like, that is how his customers have known him, and they've got the cadence down, and they set their alarm clock so they can go to his shop. That did not happen overnight. I
A
mean,
brilliant plan. That's fantastic because you get that anticipation from your customers. Like,
Oh, totally. And there's several other soap makers that come to mind that also do that, and that is a viable business method, but it is not fast to build up at all. It is way easier to do the 5 craft shows, have your Etsy store, have your fair store, walk the floor and be like, "Hey, Whole Foods buyer, I'm so glad I caught you. Can I do a regional launch?" And do the every 6-week drop. Like, it's a lot easier to have that consistent revenue than it is to have the building up slowly. But Nathan did it, and shout out, he has a full-time job too, right? This
wow.
is still yes, still his side hustle.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of our members that still have this is their side
Totally.
hustle, and I know a lot of them would like to transition to doing it full time. A lot of people are doing that because they want extra money for their vacations. They want extra money to redo their house or, eventually have their soap shop. So, yeah, you find all kinds of people doing this.
Totally.
Your YouTube videos and blog content built a community long before social media was a thing that it is today. What advice do you have for small businesses trying to grow an online audience today?
Well, it is, of course, more crowded than ever. And now that we have AI, like full on AI, social media, Instagram stars, you're like, how could I possibly compete with this deluge? Right. The key is to plan it out and really be consistent. I keep coming back to consistency, but like Brambleberry has 5 content buckets, and we stay within those content buckets when we're producing. And by producing, I mean producing. Like, we just did a Halloween reel yesterday. That was thought out. We had to film it, we had to edit it, right? That kind of thing. And so stay consistent with the posting, stay authentic with the voice. AI is so tempting to let it like write your stuff. You can definitely use it for ideas, but don't let it write your stuff. I've signed 50% of a contract to write a new book, and the rest of the contract should be in my inbox right now. And I'm really excited about it. And the temptation is to be like, "Oh, I can just upload my previous manuscripts and have something rewrite these previous manuscripts for me." And I came to the conclusion last week when I was in the middle of negotiations, like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it like I did all the other books in my voice based on my experience. And yes, it'll take longer. But so use your voice, use your authenticity, trust that people want to know the real you. They want to know the person behind the brand, and building the social media following just takes consistent effort. Brambleberry started with 1 person on Instagram. I have a personal social media account, and it is not Brambleberry at all. It's just all me, creativity, kids, whatever. Right. And that also started with 1 person following me. That was it. And so for a brand, consistency of voice, staying in your lane, it's great. Now, if your personality, staying in your lane is whatever you feel like it is, right?
Right, right. So, what role do you think education and generosity, short sharing tutorials or sort of behind the scenes, play in building a loyal following?
Well, for Brambleberry, like, that is, like, everything. I don't wanna run a company where we are making people pay for free recipes or pay for know-how or whatever. I've always been like, people will buy from people they trust, people will buy from people they like, and the art of reciprocity will kick in. Eventually, someone will buy from me because they learned all my stuff on YouTube. I mean, eventually. But I do it because I love it. I love teaching. I love creativity. I really believe I'm the best person to show people how to be creative and show them how to use all these interesting, cool ideas. I think our YouTube channel, last I looked, was like way above 45 million views.
Nice.
I don't have that many customers. I don't. I actually don't even have a million active customers. That's not a thing. So that means 44 million of those people actually went and bought their stuff from Amazon or a competitor or,
Or they just like watching soap making videos and they're never
yeah, that, yeah,
maker.
totally, totally. But no, I'm fully like giving back to the community is one of the ways that I get really filled up. I don't want to run a company that doesn't give back to the community. And when you and I were doing advocacy, that was part of what drove me. Yes, I wanted to preserve the small business exemption in Mokra, like it needed to be that $1 million, like come hell or high water. You and I were not backing down on that. And so that was also part of giving back to the community and education.
Right. Definitely. You run a very successful supply business. What trends are you seeing on the types of ingredients or products people are gravitating towards this year?
Oh my goodness. It's so interesting you asked that because I've been on a year-long listening tour to see if selling like semi-customized finished like lotions and body washes and that kind of thing as starter packs for our customers would be interesting. And as part of so I've been doing video interviews, email interviews, and then the last final phase of that was we sent out an email and we told people we are interested in maybe doing a private label program and asking them what they wanted. I still have to crunch the data on it, but what looks to be a trend right now is all the things that don't involve water. So shampoo bars, conditioner bars, things that don't involve water to ship. There is a definite trend on that. And I think that is partially just due to sustainability. I keep saying sustainability is going to hit, sustainability is going to hit. I've been saying it now for 20 years. One day it'll be true. But I will say that the majority of the people that wrote me back for the, hey, we're thinking about offering this, what they were most interested in was anhydrous products that did not have water. Body butters, shampoo bars, conditioning bars.
And that, that's the trend we're seeing in consumers as well. Consumers are seeking out these products more and more. So that
Mhm.
makes sense. Yeah. So it seems the overall, there's just more people being conscious about the environment.
Yeah, I think everybody looks around and goes, "It feels like the world is maybe burning, and it feels like we can't do a whole lot because it's actually up to governments to deal with that. But what can I do in my own home? What can I do with my own life? I can buy the dishwashing detergent that is concentrated. I can cut down on the plastics and just get a shampoo bar, that type of thing." And so that really is like the most recent trends we're seeing is just products without water, which of course bodes well for bar soap.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are there any underused ingredients or packaging styles that you think could be the next big thing for makers?
Every year there's some new focus on some new butter or exotic oil. So, like, I've been loving, there's an oil called Amla, AMLA, that I've been loving lately. And so I've been formulating with it. Of course, there's all the squalene that is still very, very popular. That has not seen its heyday. And of course, the straight up facial oils that we all saw, like Josie Maran and those group kind of skincare gurus popularizing a few years ago, those are still really hot. They're easy to make and the margins on them are insane. A little bit of argan oil, a little bit of squalene oil, a little bit of sweet almond oil kind of as your cheaper ingredient. Josie Moran's selling, I think it's $75 for 1 ounce of argan oil,
Wow.
right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that brings up a point too. Like if you are a soap maker and you're starting out, or and you only offer soap, you do need to look at these other products that you can make that are high margin products that have high
totally.
profit products. Correct?
Yes, like lotion is 70% water.
Right.
Like 70% water. And I know we just talked about sustainability and I know we just talked about how people are actually going for things without water, but the reality is a body balm without water is oily and heavy. Most bodies, as in BOD, IES, most bodies don't want that oily all over them. You can't even put clothes on afterwards. So actually lotion with water not going away really ever. Again, 70% water, that is a really great profit margin.
And the smaller things too, like the lip products, or like you were saying, the oils, things that you can get, just put them as the impulse buy. There's
Mm.
lots of things that people can add to their line that they're not complicated, because soap is very labor intensive to make and it takes a long time to cure. So maybe it just supplements your product line. So
And that is such a good point. Like you want the mix of product line to be something that is actually something that's going to give you a net profit on the bottom line. You
Right.
know, there are things at Brambleberry that have higher margins and things that don't have higher margins. And sometimes there are external forces like that cause you to have a different end cost than you were expecting. Like tariffs, for example, really are affecting bottles. They're affecting a lot of things that our soap makers are using.
Yes, definitely. We've definitely been hearing a lot about that. And what are some of the most common mistakes you see small business owners making when they're trying to grow?
Well, growth sucks cash.
Yeah.
And so it is very easy to run your QuickBooks profit and loss and be like, oh, it said I made $400 last month. Okay, cool. I'm going to spend my $400. But what you don't realize is that every time you grow on the top line, like your sales grow, you actually need more product to replenish what you just sold. So you're kind of constantly behind.
Right.
And so actually you need more cash to grow than you think. And so there's that. And then 2, I think there's this kind of romance around the concept of I'm gonna get an investor and they're gonna help me. And that is really like no one is coming to save you. That's not a thing. If someone wants to invest in your company, you need to look at that and go, why do they want to invest in my company? What do they see in me that they want to use? I am a one person operation. Why do they want to give me money? What are the strings? And so I'm a really big fan of growing off of your own cash flow from your profitability, even if it means growing slower. It is less risky. And then you keep control of your business 100%. Like I own Brambleberry 100%. There are no partners. There's no private equity. There's no shadowy male figure back there. It is just me.
And not going into debt while you're doing it, correct?
Right. Well, I did go into debt when I was 27 because I did not understand the difference between profitability and growth, and cash flow. So I was $272,000 in debt when I was 27, growing Brambleberry because it was early years. We were growing quite fast, and I said I was profitable, but then every month I was putting more and more on credit cards, and I couldn't pay anything, and I was like, "What is happening? Why? It says I'm profitable,"
Right.
and that's when I learned the valuable lesson that profitability does not equal cash flow.
Excellent. And do you recommend makers take like some business courses?
Absolutely, and there is so much out there for them to take for free. There are so many colleges with all of their courses on there for free. Coursera has so many amazing courses for a very small monthly fee. QuickBooks has free courses for how to do your accounting and setting up your books. Yes, it takes time. Yes, you do have to go back to school, which is a whole different thing on your brain, but absolutely. And I want to make it clear that I am constantly in school too. I went to school at the University of Chicago to do a mergers and acquisitions class to learn how to value businesses in case Brambleberry wants to grow by buying other businesses. Last year, I went to also University of Chicago to do a how to run a family business in case I want to transition my children into running my business because they're 12 and 14. Like, what am I going to do when I age
Right.
out? In 30 or 40 years, it'll be a while. But no, so every year I am in school, every year.
So you've never stopped learning your whole journey.
Never have stopped learning multiple extra additional degrees for no apparent reason.
Right.
Like, there's no reason in theory for me to get another degree in anything. I don't have a board of directors. I don't need to go interview for a job, but no, constant learning. So I try and read 52 books a year. That is an aggressive number. Most people could not possibly do it. Don't it, like I only say that because I am obsessed with learning.
Mm.
I'm obsessed with learning. Like right now I'm reading a book called like The Art of Interesting, which is all about how to lead an interesting psychologically rich life,
Right.
which, by the way, includes having a great community around you and loving what you do every day. You and I are talking about building soap making communities and loving having our soap making communities, the people that you and I both serve, love what they do every day.
Absolutely. So if you could wave a magic wand and get every soap maker to stop doing one thing, what would it be?
I would like them to quit buying off of Alibaba, please. The products are not safe. They are not tested. They take too long to get to you. They're disappointing. And you guys, we don't know what is in the product.
I have a story about that actually. We just bought we're doing tutorials too for our how-to library, and we just did one making candles, and we were on the fly. We needed something that we didn't have, so we used a big
Mhm.
retailer like Alibaba or Amazon, and there were bugs in the wax. There were
Right.
actual bugs in the
Yeah.
wax. And we just couldn't believe it, so you definitely don't know what you're getting when you're buying off
Well,
of.
and think about fragrances. There are 2,700 ingredients approved for fragrances. It is highly regulated in the United States, highly regulated.
Right.
It is not over in China or Thailand or any of those places.
Just use your nose too. You can smell I've smelled some of the different essential oils from different areas, you can tell right away when something is just not right.
Well, and then it gives the whole industry a bad name. It drives me crazy.
Right.
Like, but yeah, so that would be the one thing. Like, please buy, like, you don't have to buy from Brambleberry. There are many other trusted suppliers out there that have been in the industry a very long time that do have their certificates of analysis. They do have their material safety data sheets. They do have all of their testing. Just please buy from a tested, trusted ingredient supplier because your product will not be safe. Your product will not be great if you don't start with great base ingredients.
Right, right. Source your ingredients very, very methodically and ethically, for sure.
Mhm.
Because I mean, that's what that they're the star of the show. The good ingredients make the fantastic product, which was what the consumer wants in the end anyway.
True.
So you're an inspiration in this space. What's one piece of encouragement you'd like to give a soap maker or cosmetic curator who's trying to stay motivated? Because, we're going through some negative stuff right now. So how
Oh,
do you
yeah.
tell them to
Yeah.
stay positive and stay focused?
Well, one, I think the power of gratitude, like I referenced earlier, is really important. I genuinely go through my day and I try really hard to come up with 5 things that I am really grateful for. And I try not to ever repeat the 5 things for a 30-day period. So, like, always be focusing on the gratitude. Let the good crowd out the bad. Like, even, my dishwasher broke this yesterday. I spent half of the evening scooping out water so it wouldn't get moldy after trying to run it 4 times. And instead of being like very upset that the dishwasher was broken, I'm so grateful. I still am so grateful that I have a dishwasher. I
Right.
texted a friend this morning and I was like, I am so grateful that I have running water. That instead of ho hum, my dishwasher broke. Oh, woe is me. It's I am so grateful that I even have a dishwasher. I am so lucky. And so that's like that power and practice of noticing the good things in your life and then reframing the I am lucky that I have the dishwasher, not I am unlucky that the dishwasher broke. Because the most important job we have as entrepreneurs is to manage our own psychology, right? If all the business growth comes from us, if all the creativity comes from us, and if you have an employee or two or three, they're going to need to believe that you have the vision and you have the energy to see their jobs safely through to the next paycheck. So managing your own psychology is the most important part of that. So surrounding yourselves with good people, you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with, only putting in the good stuff in your brain, like only watching the Ted Lassos of the world. Like literally watch those shows. Do not watch the stuff that is negative. And of course, sadly, as you and I know right now, limit your news consumption because it doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. It still feels really hard and scary and unpredictable out there. And
And
we
you
can
can
only
stay
control what we can
right.
control.
Right. And you can stay informed without staying informed 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be reading the news before you go to bed.
No. And just focus on controlling what you can control. What
Right.
can you control? You can control how much you move today. You can control what you eat. You can control the 5 text messages you send to someone else to lift them up. You can control you noticing the good things, right? What can you control? And so those are all like really great ways to try and keep yourself motivated and positive no matter what is going on around you.
Right. I try to do I started it during the pandemic and I've tried to continue it. I try to make one person's day every day, just
Mhm.
anyone. Could be a checkout clerk, could be somebody that I just happen to see in a store, anything like make them feel good, remark on their earrings or, something nice. Just say something nice.
That's a great
It
practice.
makes me feel so much better. It really does.
Mhm.
And, as harsh as everything seems like it is too, I don't know if you feel the same way, but in my local community, everybody's getting along just fine. You know,
Same. Everybody's so happy.
yeah, it just, you can't buy into the whole we're at each other's throats every second because in practice it's not really true.
It's not. It's absolutely not. No. Really, lots of people have lots of good things going for them. And you're right. If we just shut the news down just a little bit, like my phone, if I turn it on, I can just click the button 3 times and the whole thing turns to gray screen. So I have a hot, like, and that means, and like studies have shown that when your phone is in gray screen, you pick it up a lot less.
Okay.
So that's one of my tips for like, hey, how do I not just pick up this phone and go to Instagram and start scrolling? Like, keep it grayscale, and then it's not nearly as interesting.
That's a good tip. I'm gonna have to try that one.
You
All right,
you
so I have
program it, but it's good.
excellent. I have one more question for you. So if you could go back and give day one Soap Queen a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, it's all gonna be okay. Also, maybe don't marry that guy. It's all gonna be okay. You know, I have a good friend, and we went through a lot of kind of lean years together, and we just met up for the first time. I hadn't seen her in about 8 years, and we just met up for the first time the other day, and we both were marveling at the fact that what we wanted 20 years ago, we have now. And yes, there are hardships, and yes, it feels really hard. And oh my goodness, this market is insane. And oh my goodness, the economics right now are hard to steer this ship through, but it's gonna be okay. I would tell myself back then it's gonna be okay, and I will say that same thing to myself now. It is gonna be okay.
That's excellent advice. I totally agree. I think mine would be similar. I think I would tell myself, everything that you get upset about, you need to get upset about.
Does this matter in 5 years? Does it matter
Right.
in 5 months? If it doesn't, let's simmer down.
Let's simmer it down. Well, that's a great place to end it. So thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for coming on the Master Maker podcast. It was a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you. It was a joy.
Excellent. Thank you.